emotions, we don't always express our emotions. So when we keep our emotions suppressed, I talked to a mom just yesterday about the way that her child, who's on the spectrum, reacts to her crying. She said, I can't even express myself in my own home. And I said, well, let's challenge that because you can tell your son and explain to your son these. So in this case, her tears were happy tears, and you can explain they're happy tears. And when you have unhappy tears, you can explain those too. And
Wow.
just because the tears have stopped when you start explaining to your son, it doesn't mean that the expression has stopped, like the releasing of it.
Wow. Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because how do you release it? How do you get that? How do you release all of this and make it better? I mean, I know it's great to hear examples of the people that you're working with and even your own personal story. I'm not sure, if you want to share a little bit about that because there's new listeners and viewers each and every week. Would you mind just telling us what brought you here to become this mom coach to help us with our own guilt?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to work with moms from the moment that I started
Yeah.
with my coaching certification. That was always, I'm a mom, and they always say it's usually an earlier version of yourself. And so I didn't really know
You're
who
like,
that
what?
was other than
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mom. And then I had some guilt on my that I was had been carrying
Yep.
around for several years, and my coach walked me through a process called guilt and shame,
Okay.
and or releasing guilt and shame, and it was identifying the rule that I had broken because we all have these rules that we live by. A good person does this, a good mom does this, a good spouse does this, a good sister does that. And when we break those rules, then in order to maintain, I'm a good person or I'm a good
Yep.
sister, we have to have a punishment. And that punishment is guilt.
So true.
And so, but we carry around this guilt for years for things that like we wouldn't even give
Ah,
our kid a timeout for,
no,
right? And
no.
for years, we would carry this stuff around and beat ourselves up
Hmm.
for
Yep.
things that we didn't know were going to happen. Um, so and like I was saying earlier, like most of the time people don't know what to do with guilt, and so they just say, don't feel guilty.
Wow.
Um,